It is DJ Ash Noble. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream. And can you believe it? This is the first live stream this sort of like late summer, autumn, where I'm actually wearing a jumper. So yesterday was I think in probably about 5, 6, maybe even 7. I don't even know how long that I've like put a jumper back on. I don't know what happened over the weekend, but the temperature it just really dropped to the point yesterday where I thought, you know what, it's time to bring out a jumper. I've worn coats and stuff over summer if it's been a bit of a rainy day, but the jumpers and the hoodies, I've not worn them, so it really makes you feel like that winter's on its way. When you pull the jumper out. Which is crazy. So yeah, welcome back to another live. I wanted to do a live a little bit about talking a bit more about production. And sort of how I got involved into production. Hopefully, give you a few tips on if you are thinking about starting out, getting into production. And myself and the layman, we've been working on a remix just lately, and it's getting to the point now where it's like practically there. It's nearly finished. So we've just been working today, and it just got me thinking about production as a whole. And I'm always working on like projects and tracks, and some of them get finished and some of them don't, and some of them turn out better than I imagined, and some of them don't turn out that good at all, and they end up getting scrapped. And I thought I'd do this little live just to talk a little bit about sort of why I got into production, why I like production, or I rephrase why I love production, because I love producing now. It's like one of my most favourite parts of music, just being able to get into a program and then just sort of like create tunes or create genres that you've grown up listening to, which is obviously an absolutely belting thing. I think for me, as opposed to sort of like starting to get into production, it was when I started getting a little bit more involved in the DJ scene. So I suppose when I started going to nightclubs and when I started attending the raves a little bit more, and then when I started adding like some of the DJs online and making friends with some of them, and then some of them was like posting, I've just done this remix, and I was sort of sitting there and I was thinking, I wonder how I can just do a remix. And I remember sort of looking into it, and as daft as it sounds at the time, I was like literally typing into Google like how to make a remix, because I was like really, really like at this point like did not know anything about production. I only really knew about DJing, about really what DJing was. So I had a little look online, watched these videos, and a lot of it, everybody was obviously recommending the program, FL Studio. So I grabbed myself a copy on my old laptop at the time, and opened it up. And it just absolutely, like, I just thought, what is this? Like, I had no clue what I was doing. So I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I had a little click of a few buttons, and I thought, this is just blagging my head. And I just thought, I do not even know how you even work this program. To the point where I was tapping buttons and I could hear a few sounds, and then I was thinking, right, well, how do I make these sounds into a track? And I just had no clue. It was one of them where I did not know what I was doing at all. To the point where I just closed the program, and I don't think I opened it back up again, which was absolutely crazy. And then we saw the sort of late 2019, and I was at an old friend of mine, Freestyle's house, and we'd formed a little rap duo called Bar to Bar, and we sort of spoke, and he said, maybe we should have a little go at making some of our own rap beats. over our tunes and stuff. And I still didn't have a clue about production. I'd never opened up FL ever again since closing it that day. And I just thought, we can have a go, but I don't know anything about production. And then my friend Freestyle said, look, I know a little bit about it. I used to do a bit, a few years back, but I've not done it for a while. And so we had a little hunt and we had a little look, and we eventually found a cracked version of the FL Studio, and we started putting a few little rap beats and things together, and it seemed to start sort of going all right. So then I started questioning, like, well, how do we go about, like, say if we wanted to like make, like, say a UK hardcore tune and stuff like that. And that was when the birth of the Freestyle and Noble I Found You remix sort of came about. So I sort of was a little bit put on the spot, and I thought, well, if we're going to do this, what tune would I like to remix? And I come across the MIDI and the vocal for Axwell I Found You on the internet, and I thought, well, do you know what? I used to love that tune back in the day, and I still love it now. So I thought, well, do you know what? Let's do a version of this. Let's see what the piano sounds like. If it's like speeded up to that BPM of playing it at 170, and it actually didn't sound too bad. And so off we went making this tune. Like, it was sounding terrible, but we was proper buzzed with it at the time. And then, we sort of carried on working on that tune, and then I got my own cracked copy of the virtual of the FL Studio. Began working on the tune myself, and again, didn't really know what I was doing, but I'd sort of like picked up a few tips from what my friend had been doing. And then at the time, we was just buzzed with the tune, so we got so far and we called it done, and was just proper buzzed, to put it out there, for like for the World Wide Web to see it, and obviously, for people to listen to it. And to be fair, the feedback wasn't too bad. We had some nice feedback that people was kind of like, to say it's your first tune, you've done all right kind of thing. So I was a little bit buzzed about that, like, yeah, they think we've done all right to say it's a first tune. And then someone pointed out that the vocal wasn't totally in time, and it actually isn't. You can still go and listen to that tune on SoundCloud now. I'll just keep it sort of like to listen back to, really, so I can sort of think, like, how far I've come on in production wise. So yeah, so we put that tune up, and was absolutely buzzed. And then I just sort of got a bit more sort of like, I want to keep doing this. I want to learn. And I was kind of like to my friend, like, what we're going to remix next? What's the next idea? And this was when Mr. Kirk's Pijano Nightmare came about, which was supposed to be like a hardcore tune that had a donk in it, and essentially it was a remix. I keep dropping something I'm fiddling with, I do apologise, my own fault for fiddling. So we come up with this idea. I found a tune called Mr. Kirk's Nightmare, and it's just basically a real old sort of like rave tune. And then Dougal and Gamma did a hardcore version of it in the early 2000s for Essential Platinum. It's basically about a police officer that rings a guy's house, and just basically essentially says, your son's dead, he died of an overdose. And asks him to come down to the station house. It's like a real, like a real old sort of like, real old. I don't know where the original sort of like sample actually comes from. So we decided to do that, but use Eric Prid's Piano in the tune. And again, at the time, we was proper buzzed with it, and it didn't sound all too good, to be honest. To be honest. And then sort of from there on, my friend just got a little bit distant, wanting to do projects, and he got a girlfriend, and he just weren't really you know, and stuff just weren't getting done. So I decided that I was going to start sort of like tackling it more, you know, from a solo perspective, and start sort of learning myself. And then I started writing my own stuff, and my friend was just giving me a bit of a hand as opposed to us doing like tracks together, that just essentially. You know, it was me doing them more myself. You know, we had myself and Freestyle. We had a tune. Was remixing a remix of Freaks to Creeps, and then it never. You know, we started it. You know, we only got like the very basics down, like the beginning of the tune, and then we just never. He never wanted to. He never seemed interested to go back to it. So then like I say, I started going on a sort of like going on a solo ride myself, and I wrote a tune called "Now It's Time to Say Goodbye," which was again, it was another hardcore tune that had a donk in it, and that was just it was quite terrible in itself, but it was just essentially a guy who had essentially messed up and he was apologising. But it was just he had to say goodbye. He's messed up. It's time to go. He's not wanted round here anymore. Pack your suitcase, kind of thing. And it wasn't too good of a tune, but at the time I was buzzed with it, and I got the layman to do a little voice sample, and it was really good. You know, at the time I was proper buzzed with it. And then so sort of from there on, I sort of linked up with a guy who I'm not going to mention him because we don't speak now, but we started sort of like linking up a little bit, and he was DJing, and you know, was sort of got talking online, and he was from Hull, and I said, look, you know, why don't we do a few tunes? When I say a few tunes, it was like it was me making them, and then I was sending them to him, and he was kind of like, yeah, this sounds all right, that sounds all right. I'd occasionally like video call him so he could look at the project itself. But essentially, you know, we never sat down in a room together. Cut the story short. We did a tune, a remix of Fats and Smalls Turn Around, and called it Got to Turn Around, which just, it sounded all right, but it was like a track that needed work. Like it lacked in a lot of things. And then we did another tune called Another Chance, which was a remix of Roger Sanchez, Another Chance. And we got so far, and it was sounding all right. And then I got me friend Freestyle. I got him to sort of like just give us a bit of an hand and help go over it. And he changed the bass sound, and he just completely ruined the tune. And then we just put it out, and then sort of after putting it out, you know, I listened to it on YouTube, and it didn't sound as good as you know, when I heard it like before, and it really didn't work, to be honest. And then I just sort of wasn't really too happy with it. And then after that, I went on to make I'm rushing into La La Land, which was actually a decent tune actually, and it was the first time that I'd really like mastered sort of like timing up vocals. So I timed up this. It was Green Velvet. I can't remember the name of the tune. But it's you know, it goes something about them little pills, them reels, them frills, and I got that in time at the hardcore speed, and I remember playing it, and I had this bass. I used a bass sample, and it wasn't a one shot; it was actually a bass loop, and it sounded like really good. It just, everything sort of started coming together, and then the whole track just built up on itself, and then at this point. It was like there was an improvement, and people was questioning, like, you know, where did you get them sounds from? And I'm sure I've heard a similar track before, and people quite shocked, like, you know, Noble's thrown up a track like this, and it did quite well. Quite a few people liked it, which was quite a good thing. And then after that, I went on to do some solo stuff. And I did tunes. I did a remix of Shakedown at Night, Funker Man Speed Up, and then I went on to do some Power Stomp with DJ Prime. I did a hardcore tune of the Utah Saints, Something Good, which was a good tune upon itself. you know, me just sort of like experimenting and learning. I also did a tune, a remix of Lady Hear Me Tonight from Mojo, and stuff like that. And just sort of like really grew, really. And just, you know, I carried on, and so some of the tunes were alright, but they needed work. I was still learning. And then the beginning of sort of like 2021, it was obviously the year when we started doing all the reggae stuff, releasing Good Life, and you know, behind the scenes, I was doing all, you know, still working on FL, and so sort of like having a good go at things. And then I suppose the first tune that really came about for me in 2021 was Critical, which was it was a remix of Alex Prospect's remix of Tremor. So they'd done a remix of Tremor, and I first heard it on a Cotton Ravine live stream, and they started off with the, it was either a live stream or a video, and it went into like a little bit of a dubstep breakdown, and I just remember like listening to it, and I kind of like really liked it. It was really good. So I sort of located the tune. It was a free download on his SoundCloud. So I grabbed the tune, and the tune was almost like, when I listened to it, it was like a really nice, it was like a really clean, sort of polished up tune. But it was almost like it didn't go on for long enough. So I started thinking, what could I do? You know, could I sort of like take this tune, and could I enhance this tune and make it any better? So I did, and then I came up with the idea. Well, let's add the Jigger Man's vocals, and let's have him doing a little bit of a rap about, you know, things getting critical. And then I just essentially, what I did was I essentially copied the first breakdown and pasted it. So when it comes out of the sort of like dubstep sort of break, it goes into the outro of the tune. So what I did was I made it go back into the breakdown, and then sort of like build up and drop again, and then go into another dubstep drop again, the same dubstep drop, and then go into the outro. So I essentially extended his tune, and then I just added like a few effects and sounds, and just made it a little bit different, and put it up as just a free bootleg. And you know, we messaged Alex Prospect, myself and the layman, and said, yeah, cool, you know, do something with it. You know, he said he bootlegged it himself, so have a go. We put these vocals over it, and it did quite well, which was a really good thing. And then not too long after that, I found a little website, and there was some like Clubland songs and like Clubland samples. So I downloaded them, and I began my 170 BPM remix of Georg Schmidt's Wifey. And that was sort of taking his like Scouse House version, speeding it up, and then just again sort of working from there, and turning it into a hardcore tune from a Scouse tune essentially. And that went down really well. The layman absolutely loved it, so we put that out, which was good. That went on Layman Productions, which was absolutely belting. And then after that, along came Darren Styles, come running when he ran his competition. So myself and the layman tackled that. We did like a breakdown that was just amazing, and all the instruments came in one by one, and then it went into a D&B drop, and I made my own sick little D&B bass line that I still love to this day. It goes like bow wow bow bow wow bow wow bow 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 wow bow bow wow bow bow wow bow wow, and then it goes into the Darren Styles hardcore lead, do 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 bow wow bow bow wow bow wow. And everybody just, you know, because it starts off just like an hardcore tune would start, you know. So you think, oh, banging hardcore tune, drops down, builds up. You think, yeah, banging hardcore tune, and then all of a sudden, it just throws you in that different direction, and it just makes you, you know, it just suddenly throws it into a D&B tune, and then you think, whoa, this is different, but people love it and people vibe off it. Went absolutely crazy. Played it at a few gigs and things like that, and it, you know, it just absolutely went, sort of, you know, it went off like that. And then we did Darren Styles versus Hypersonic, Baby I'll Let You Know. And we did like a hardcore. So we did like that was more like a full D&B tune. And that went down really well. This was when our production level was just really improving, and we was really taking our time with our projects and listening back, and really making everything sound so full, and just all these different things happening, and just sort of take your head off, jump up D&B tune, that just absolutely sounded amazing. And then after that, I got my booking with Bounce to Your Drop, so I kind of got like hooked back into the bounce scene, and then I sort of had a go at let's have a go at producing bounce, let's have a go at doing some donk, and did a few songs that never really went anywhere, some stuff that I would actually love to maybe go back and revamp. But the first one and the main one that came for me was A Lonely Sex Shooter. And it was a remix of Firefox Sex Shooter, matched up with the classic house tune Tomcraft, Loneliness, and it just went really well. It just worked out. It was sounding good. It was sounding sweet. It doesn't sound the best now. It sounds a little flat, like it just needs a bit more like oomph to it. But it's got some really good elements to it. It's one of them tracks that maybe it would maybe be about 95% sort of like complete. It just needs that little bit of something just to give it a bit more, and then it would have been their kind of track. But at the time, you're just learning. I just moved over from sort of doing D&B and bounce really. D&B and hardcore, sorry, to coming into like donk and bounce, and it's a new genre that I hadn't really produced before, so I just sort of getting into it. But we put that out. It still had some good feedback. Some people loved it. Some people again just said it needs that little bit more oof. And that this was from other producers as well. And these other producers just said it. You've done some really good elements here. It sounds really good, but it just needs a little bit more oomph. And by this point, it was already out. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't gonna change it too much, and it was only a little mashup I'd done, so I wasn't like overly fussed about making it into something like absolutely spectacular. It was a little mashup. It was just going out as a little mashup bootleg of two classic tunes, and I just thought, yeah, at this point I'm happy with it. It'll do for me, which is good. And then from there on, I've just been producing and making loads of bounce, and Layman Productions sort of took a back seat. As we just got so busy with other things, did the layman, and we just didn't have time ourselves to get productive and work on tunes. But we're back, and there's 3 tunes coming on to Layman Productions, which is really good. I'm looking forward to these coming out, and one of them is a remix of the classic 90s Real McCoy, Another Night, and I can't wait to share this one with you. I don't know if I've ever done any streams on YouTube showing it off or not. I might have done in like some early stages, but it's drastically changed, trust me, and it sounds sick. And then another one is a Pretty Green Eyes remix that I originally put out just myself as a free download, nothing to do with Layman. And another producer got in touch and said, let's do a version of this tune together, and let's make it even better, because he liked some of the elements that I used in my tune. So that was good. So yeah, so I've done lots of production things. But I suppose, going back to the question, like what got me into production? Like what made me sit there again and think, like, do you know what, why would I want to sort of jump on the program, and why would I want to get involved? And I think it's just that sort of like, again, opening up a program and just being able to like, sort of like get so creative. So without giving too much of my tune away, I guess like that feeling of knowing, I like a lot of bounce. I listen to a lot of the bounce, and I play a lot of bounce. So that feeling, knowing that you can make that, and you can add that into a tune, and you can make your own bounce tunes, just like what you hear other people making. It gives me a buzz, and the thing is that without going into, I guess, like the releasing sort of like you know, if you don't go into the releasing kind of situation upon producing, when you open up like a program like a draw, the world is your oyster. You can have a go and you can try and create whatever you want to create. You can have something re-sang, you can find a vocal for it, you can take a MIDI and you can rave that MIDI up from what it normally would have been in maybe the original chart tune. Like the world is your oyster, and you can just jump on this program and you can just play around. And if you want your tune to have a breakbeat in it, then you can add a breakbeat in it, because no one is telling you you can't do this and you can't do that. And the thing about it is there is no right or wrong way to make a tune. There's like ways of making a tune sound good, there's ways of making a tune sound bad. But at the end of the day, when you're creating your own tune or you're doing your own remix, there's no right or wrong way to do it. The only things that can, I suppose, go wrong is like having something out of key, or having something just not sounding right. But you can, if you want to add a breakbeat in it, if it sounds good, you can add a breakbeat in it. If you want the vocal to go a little bit high pitched, or you want to have a key change, you can have a key change, essentially, and you can. Do you know what I mean? And you can make a key change. You can have a key change. That'll just sound absolutely wicked. If you really want to. And this is where again it comes. The world can be your oyster. And this is where it can just get so interesting, because it can. The world can be your oyster. And you can just really play around and make something your own. And this is what inspires me to jump on these programs. The fact that I'm remixing with the Lame and the Real McCoy another night, but I can add the elements that I want to add, and I can just do it how I want to do it. And there's no one saying you don't do it like this or you don't do that, because you're making your own version of it. It's your own. You make it how you want to make it. So yes, I suppose for anybody who's wanting to get into production, what I would definitely recommend is definitely start off remixing, because remixing will give you like a real flavour. It'll get you sort of like you can learn to produce by remixing, because you can do things like put midis in, you can do things like put vocals in, and you can just change the pitch of the vocals, rather than maybe try, if you're creating a D&B tune and trying to sing something yourself, sort of like to start off with, it might be a little bit harder, so if you start off by remixing stuff, you'll get a really good feel for it. Obviously, the only issue with remixing things is, you're not always able to release something if you can't get the clearance of it. But if you can, on the upper hand, you can keep stuff for yourself, so you can have a tune that essentially just would be your own, and it'd be maybe something that everybody would say, do you know what? Do you know what I mean? It would be something that essentially just would, people would want it, but then you'd say like, well, sorry, you can't have it. It's not released. I'm not like, I can't release it. I can't give it out. I can only play it in my own sets. And sometimes people will make a tune that is just that good as well. That it's just that good that they won't want to release it, because because it sounds that good, that if they did release it, it would ruin it. Do you know what I mean? And people obviously wouldn't want to, and then the tune would just, get sort of like overkilled from what it is. So now they drop it in their sets, and it'll go off, and people will go off because people aren't hearing it all the time, because it's it's that remix that one guy's only got, or that one producer, and he plays it in his sets, or he plays it in a set now and again. So people aren't hearing it all the time because it's not on a digital store where so many people are buying it, and then people are putting mixes up and that tune's in the mix, and then people are playing gigs, and they're dropping it at gigs because it's a banger. And they've got it for themselves, and it almost keeps it like a banger because it's not out there and you're only hearing it now and again, and you think, fuck, that's a good remix. So I suppose, like I say, if you're starting out, get your software, have a go at remixing some stuff, play around, watch plenty of YouTube videos, because I've watched endless YouTube videos, and they've worked for me. It's worked a treat for me, doing that. Really has worked a treat for me. So that is obviously something that just you want to do it. Do you know what I mean? So do it. Do you know what I mean? And have a go. Watch videos. They've helped me out massively with what to do. And they've given me loads of great tips over the past sort of couple of years of just sort of like getting into production. And the mad thing is now is that I'd rather sit on a program like this than join a Call of Duty lobby or jump on and play a video game, because I feel like this is more productive and you're learning something and you can get a better outcome at the end of it. And I've just really got hooked into it. So there you go. But anyway, people, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to share, and peace out. Take it easy. 31, not bad. Right, I've got an idea.